60, 90 triangles. It's the only thing we're doing today. Literally, we have one rule today. There is one thing that we are learning today. 30, 60, 90 triangles. This is going to show up in a lot of things that we do moving forward, so make sure that you ask questions. Okay, here is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Look at the triangle itself. It has a 30-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and a right angle, which is going to be 90 degrees. Okay? In this 30, 60, 90 triangle, there is what we call a short leg, a long leg, and the hypotenuse. You can always identify the hypotenuse because it is going to be across from the right angle. Okay? The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. Guys, the other two should be obvious. When you look at this, do you see the 30-degree angle is across from the short leg? So the smallest angle is across from the short leg. The long leg is across from the long side, that longer angle, that bigger angle. Okay. This is a big deal that you understand that their relationship to the sides is really important. Everything in this shape is going to be based off the short leg. Listen to me. Everything in this shape is going to be based off the short leg. You are never going to go between the long leg and the hypotenuse, ever. Everything is going to go between the short leg. If it does not touch the short leg, if you don't go through it, you're doing it wrong. Everything is based off the short leg. Okay, here we go. Here's the rule. If this short leg is X, some unknown amounts, and we want to go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, short to the hypotenuse, you are going to multiply by 2. You're just going to double it. So this hypotenuse right here would be 2x. So guys, if the short leg is 5, how long is the hypotenuse? 10. That's it. If the short leg is 5, the hypotenuse is 10. Double it. That's all it is. It's twice as long. Okay. And if you need to go backwards, what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Dividing by 2. So if you had to go backwards, you could divide by 2. Okay, on the other side, this is why radicals are in this chapter. This is why we do all this. This is why we review all the stuff with simplifying radicals, all that stuff. Because this is going to require you to go from the short leg to the long leg by multiplying by the square root of 3. Radical 3. That means that your long leg would be x square roots of 3. Radicals always come at the end, even after variables. They go after variables. Okay. You could also go backwards. Instead of multiplying by the square root of 3, the opposite of that would be to divide by the square root of 3. Guys, that's everything we're learning today. All of it. That one set of rules. That one set of rules, though, can cause people to either do well or not as we go forward. It is a basic rule. When we do trig, you're going to have to know this to be able to set up the problems that we do, and you can't use trig on the problems that require this. They have to be in simplest radical form, and trig's going to give you decimals. You cannot give me decimals when you're asked to use 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay, so let's show you what we mean to work with this thing. The only numbers are multiply by 2 or multiply by the square root of 3. That's it. You can either multiply by one of those two numbers, 2 or radical 3. Okay, let's show you what this looks like. I even drew the arrows and drew the numbers we're multiplying by on this first one. Remember, identifying the short leg is the first thing you need to do. Here is the 30-degree angle. That means this is going to be your short leg. Everything is based on the short leg, so identify it first. I'm suggesting that the first thing you ought to do is highlight that one. Once you get that, if you have the short leg, which in this case we do, it's 3, to go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, you are going to multiply by 2. So how long would y be? 6. That's it. Guys, this isn't hard. It's just memorizing this rule. That's all it is. To go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, we are going to multiply by the square root of 3. That is written 3 square roots of 3. That's it. You're done. Anybody have any questions just based on the rule? So far, so good? Okay. Not yet? Okay. Here we go. For the next one, we are identifying the short leg first. Since everything is based on the short leg, the very first thing you need to do is identify that 30-degree angle, which gives you the short leg. Everything is based on that. Guys, because everything is based on that, and we currently have the hypotenuse, we need to go backwards to the short leg. If you're going back to the short leg, instead of multiplying, you would be what? Dividing. And what are you dividing by when it is between the hypotenuse and the short leg? 2. Perfect. So that means this x would be what? 4. Perfect. To go from the short leg to the long leg, you are going to multiply, and you're going to be multiplying by what number? Radical 3, square root of 3, however you want to say it. Root 3 is also correct. All those are fine. So that would be 4 square roots of 3. All right. The next one is where you'll have to do work. Whenever you're given the long leg, this is always the one that is the most challenging. Because you're dealing with dividing by a radical, which some of you got and some of you didn't in your work coming up to here, I'm going to treat this like you've never seen this before. So let's start the same way we did. First, identify the 30-degree angle, which gives you the side across from it, which makes that the short leg. Currently, what we have a number on is the long leg. To go from the long leg to the short leg, we are going to be dividing, because we're going back to the short leg. And what are we dividing by? Radical 3. It's always the same. It's always the same number between those. We're dividing by radical 3. Because we are dividing by radical 3, it's going to be 6 divided by the square root of 3. Remember, we don't write division. We write division as a fraction when we're doing problems in math. We're past the point of using division symbols. Now, there's a problem with this. Some of you learned this and some of you didn't. When you have a fraction with a radical on the bottom, you cannot leave it there. You have to get rid of the radical off the bottom. In order to do that, guys, whatever number is on the bottom, you're going to multiply the top and bottom of this equation, of this fraction, by the square root of 3. Guys, square root of 3 over square root of 3 is equal to what? 1. So are we changing the value of this problem? No. All we're doing is rewriting it in a different way. This is not crazy. Don't make it hard. Guys, here we go. 6 times the square root of 3 is literally 6 square roots of 3. Okay. And then what is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3?
Square root of 9.
But what is the square root of 9?
3.
3. So when you multiply radical, remember what we talked about, when you have square root of 3 squared, because this is just twice the same thing, what happens to the square and the square root? They cancel. So when you multiply square root of 3 times square root of 3, that's going to be 3. Do you see we got rid of our radical off the bottom? Is it finished? No. Why? What can you do? You can cancel. What can you cancel? Now be careful. Let's do this real quick. Guys, grab your calculators. I want you to type something. I want you to see something. Try typing 3 and hit the square root button on your calculator. See, it's a decimal. It's ugly, like 1 point something. Okay? Because it's a decimal and it's grab one off one here. Because it's a decimal and it's ugly and all that stuff, guys, can you cancel this 3 with this 3 on the bottom? It's not really 3, it's the square root of 3. But we can cancel the 3 and the 6. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 6, you were doing the other one, 2 times. So that makes it 2 square roots of 3. Now it's 2 square roots of 3 over 1, but do we ever write anything over 1? No. So we just leave it like that and cancel that out. So your answer for this one is going to be 2 square roots of 3. Guys, the ones with the most work always go from the long leg to the short leg. I'm telling you, because you're dealing with that radical 3 and dividing, those are the ones that have the work. The rest of them are pretty straightforward. Now that we have the short leg, we need to go from the short leg to the hypotenuse. If you go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, if you go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, you're going to be multiplying by what? 2. The numbers are different, guys. One is radical 3, one is 2. So when you multiply this, you're multiplying the numbers on the outside. 2 times 2 would be 4 square roots of 3. Is that your regular ringtone? Oh, okay. I was like, wow.
What happens when you press the power?
Oh, okay. You're fine. It's fine. Oh, is that the emergency thing? Oh, you did hit off, right, then? The SOS thing? You got it turned off? Okay. Because otherwise they call you back, so. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, anything about it? Okay. Let's try the next one. We're going to do more of these. Okay. This first one. Okay. Identify your short leg. I'll be honest, they're all facing the same direction. It should be fairly easy on these. It'll be a little more work when they turn the pictures a little bit differently. If you have trouble, let me know. It's always the one across from the 30-degree angle, just whatever's across from that. We have the short leg. To go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, we are multiplying by what? 2. That means the hypotenuse would be how long? 14. To go from the short leg to the long leg, we would be multiplying by what? Radical 3, which, guys, whenever you multiply a number and a radical, you just put them next to each other. It's called 7 square roots of 3, or 7 root 3, radical 3. Any of those ways to say it is perfectly fine. Okay. Anything on that one? This is the only rule we use today, guys.
Wait, so we're done with that one?
We got the X, we got the Y, we're done. Once you get the X and the Y, you're done. Good. Why is this one done, even though it's got a radical in it? Because there's no radical on the bottom of the fraction. It's when the radical's on the bottom of the fraction when you have a problem. Okay. Okay, guys, here we go. We are going from the, first of all, identify the short leg. I can see them all, I apologize. I know where they are, but it helps, guys. It really helps to identify the short one. The first thing I would do when you get your worksheet is go through and draw the little line on the short legs on every single problem. It takes no time. Get it done. From there, we are going from the long leg to the short leg. When you go between the long leg and the short leg, you have got to divide by the square root of 3. Now this one is unique. I did this one because it's on the homework as well. When you set up 10 square roots of 3 divided by the square root of 3, you do not have to go through and multiply by the radical 3, because what happens? It cancels out, and my answer is just 10. And because I have my short leg at 10, to go from the short leg to the long leg, excuse me, I apologize, from the short leg to the hypotenuse, you would multiply by 2, and your hypotenuse would be 20. Good. Okay, questions on the rule so far? We're going to apply this to a couple of word problems. Okay, here we go. And there's some more getting rid of that radical off the bottom so we can show you how to do that. Okay, guys, here we go. The perimeter of an equilateral triangle. Stop right there. Draw an equilateral triangle. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. But draw a triangle where all 3 sides are the same length. Ooh. Guys, if all three sides are the same length, every single one is the same, then all the angles are going to be the same. And how big are the angles inside of an equilateral triangle? You have to know this to be able to do this problem.
60.
They are all 60. You got a 60 here, you got a 60 here, you got a 60 here. So the first thing you got to do is be able to write that. Okay. It says the perimeter is 54. Guys, if the perimeter is 54 and there are 3 equal sides, how do I find out how long each side is? 54 divided by 3. What does that give us? 18. So this side would be 18. This side would be 18. And this side would be 18. It's equilateral. Okay, guys, I'm about to do something, the rest of the problem, about to do the part where we have to do the new stuff with this rule. Here we go. It says find the altitude of the triangle. Guys, an altitude in an equilateral triangle goes from that point of that vertex right there, goes down to the opposite side at a right angle. It's always at a right angle when it's an altitude. Okay, it's like the height of the triangle. When we draw in that altitude, we create a very unique situation. Because we cut this in half, because it's equilateral and drew it right down the center, each side of this would be what? Guys, what's half of 60?
30.
So this would be 30 here and 30 here. Guys, do you see we just created a 30, 60, 90 triangle? 30, 60, 90 triangles are what we've been dealing with. So, based on that information, I'm going to go ahead and draw this out on the outside. I'm going to try again. I'm going to draw this triangle out on the outside just so you can see it very clearly. I like people to be able to see it. Okay, this triangle is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. This length right here is how long, guys? 18. That side length is 18. It tells us all the sides are 18. Okay? Because this goes to the opposite side in the middle, it bisects this into 2 equal parts, and this bottom piece is cut in half. So how long is this piece right here?
9.
This one would be 9, because 9 and 9. Nice. The only thing we're missing is the altitude, which, guys, goes from here to here, because, again, identifying the short leg. This is the short leg. It's across in the 30-degree angle. We're going from the short leg to the hypotenuse or long leg. Which one is it? Which one are we going to? We're going to the long leg. And to go from the short leg to the long leg, you multiply by what number? Radical 3. So it's just going to be 9 square roots of 3. And that is your altitude. Guys, we did not do anything different than the problems we just got done with. We just had to draw the picture, which you have to do 3 times on your homework. Right, questions, concerns, anything about it? Okay, we have to do getting rid of the radical on the bottom in this next one, so this is a lot more work. Let's start drawing this. First of all, it is an equilateral triangle. The first thing I'm going to do is draw that equilateral triangle the same as I did on the one above. Here's my equilateral. It's going to have, does it say what the, oh no, it tells me the altitude. In this case, they talk about the altitude right here, and this piece right here is 10 inches. We'll draw in our measurements, 60, 60, 90, and 30 on both sides here. Okay, me personally, I do better when I draw the 30, 60, 90 triangle separate. If you don't need to do that, if you can work directly on this one, feel free to do that. I do better when I pull it out like this and work on this separate triangle, because special right triangles themselves have rules. So this side right here would be 10, because this is the altitude. I am identifying the short leg. The short leg is going to be this piece right here. just on the drawing, does anybody have a question why I put anything where I did, why it's in that position, anything about the angles, anything at all before we do this last part? Okay, here we go. We are going from the long leg to the short leg. Because we are going backwards, we are going to be dividing. What number do you divide by between the long leg and the short leg? Radical 3. So we have got to do 10 divided by the square root of 3. Can I have the radical in the bottom of a fraction? No. So I've got to get rid of that. What am I going to multiply top and bottom by? Radical 3. Radical 3. That's going to make this 10 square roots of 3 all over. Guys, the square root of 3, it's going to be the same thing all over and over again. What is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? 3. Just 3. Can I reduce the 10 and the 3? Yes or no? No, they don't divide. So it's going to be right here at 10 square roots of 3 over 3. Okay. Is that the side that they are asking us for? This piece right here, is this what they're asking us for? Is this the length of a side? No, I've got to get this one out here in order to get the length of a side. So what do I have to multiply by to go from the short leg to the hypotenuse? 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2. And guys, when you multiply by 2, you're really multiplying, if it's a fraction, what is 2 as a fraction? 2 over what? 2 over 1. So we're going to multiply. Guys, when I multiply 10 square roots of 3 times 2, all I'm doing is multiplying the numbers on the outside. Okay? 10 times 2 is going to be 20. The square root of 3 just gets written right beside it. And then 3 times 1 is going to be 3. That's it. 20 square roots of 3 all over 3. Is that the actual answer to the question? Is that one of the side lengths of this triangle?
Yes.
Yes. That is what they're asking for. That is the actual answer to the question. Okay, guys. So that's our notes for today. We're going to practice this and have you ask questions if you get any. So let's